So, Eliza Agudelo is the author of The Last Matriarch. This is a raw and deeply moving memoir that explores the power bond between mother and daughter and the painful journey of loss, regret, and healing. The memoir goes beyond grief. It reveals the silent guilt we carry and questions that never leave us and the strength after loss. Disclaimer: any of the guidance offered by the podcast host, myself, or the podcast guests is our own guidance. We are not liable for any of the actions the podcast listener decides to do. So, Eliza, thank you for coming on today. Glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, John, for inviting me.
I appreciate you. So, I'd love to know, you've got some big themes here. You've got loss, you've got healing, many things like that. I'd love to know what kind of drove you to write this book.
Well, I've always enjoyed writing, and I have a collaborative book that I've written and some co-authored some poetry before and things like that. And I've always been a writer. But I guess because since I had to go to Colombia, I had they use a lot of WhatsApp there. And all these messages and all these audios and even my mother's messages and things like that were there. And as I was trying to process the grief and the loss, and I would actually go back to listening to her voice as a way of like keeping her close as I was grieving and all these different things happening. I realized that I didn't know how to grieve, and
Mm,
possibility that others don't either, because it's not like we're riddled with, death on a daily basis. It
mm,
doesn't happen all the time. And I realized that I didn't know how to grieve, and I had to find my way on how to grieve for me that made sense, because you always see it in movies, you always see it in other things. So that got me into, well, I'm a writer. I started writing letters to my mom, like if she was here and all these things. And then I realized that I had all that time, all that year's time of what has been transpiring while I'm trying to heal. And I decided to put it into like a mini memoir of that year's time of so it was more like realizing that if I don't know how to grieve, I'm sure a lot of us don't. And I want to share what helped me and what I learned through it. And also, it was healing for me to write it. And I feel it keeps my mom alive for others to share.
wow. Yeah, it kind of you discovered your own way of sort of grieving as you went through this like whole process. And I guess you put this into the book, kind of like teaching others this way as well.
Yeah, like if it works for them, right?
Mm,
Because like I said, we watch movies, there's other people who've unfortunately lost loved ones, and we see the way they grieve or what happens, but that's not necessarily yours. And so then you think you need to behave that way. So the book is also in a way to help others see that you don't have to grieve the way others do. It's okay to have your own way.
mm,
It's okay for you not to have to break down completely and still feel the loss, or vice versa. Where it's okay if you break down completely and not keep yourself composed, which happens a lot in well, at least in my family. They keep themselves composed like nothing happened. Oh, that's life, but they're eating it. Sometimes they're eating it. So you need to find out what works for you. As long as you're not keeping it inside and just letting it tear you up in there and changing who you are as a person, then, that's where I started seeing also the way my other family members were grieving, that they were just like, yes, yes, I'm composed. No, it's, I'm sad, but it happens. And they move on. They're not expressing how they really feel.
so yeah, quite like it's not a one size fits all approach that you're applying to grief because yeah, it's I guess it's different for everyone
Yeah.
in how they do it. And you're inviting in the book, it sounds like these different ways. I
Hmm.
mentioned in terms of the memoir, it was a painful journey of loss, like regret and healing that you mentioned. Could I touch on like the regret side of things and what
Uh,
was kind of written about in that?
well, I mean, we all have experience. We all have mothers, we all have fathers, whether we were raised with them or not. We always have those issues where it's like, Mom, please, like, we feel like they bug us sometimes, or I don't want to talk to them. And at the time, my mom was in Colombia, and, I talked to her on a regular basis. Not every day, but oddly enough, this is one of those things where I felt like I was a jerk about it. where I wouldn't talk to her every day for several reasons. One was like, well, sometimes I'm busy and I don't want her to feel comfortable that it's an everyday thing now. So I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to her every day and get her used to it. Or I would be like, sometimes I just don't want to talk to her. So just little things like that. And then getting upset with her sometimes when I was trying to help her heal when, before I even thought that this was going to be the final time, helping her heal, I would get upset at just certain little things that are inconsequential because she was sick. And it was just me and my character because I have my mom's strong character. And it was just me thinking like, oh, that's just irritating. And then looking back and feeling so regretful and instead showing her a little more grace and more love than I felt I did. So those were those regrets. Or the choosing, like my sister had said, go, just go, go, go now. And I didn't feel like I needed to because it felt it was going to be a huge stressor and because family was taking care of her and all these things. So I waited a little bit longer. And at the end of the day, who knows, right? You're like, oh, what if I did leave 4 days earlier from here to go to there to try to take care of her? Maybe that would have helped in some way because I would have been there to do something. So those are all those things that come up and I had to let go of, obviously, through my healing.
through the process of, and you write about this in the book, it sounds like.
Yes.
How long did the book take you to write, to get it all together, pulling all of this together?
Um, Honestly, I didn't really take that long to write, but it took that long to edit. So it was more like I would say about a year
Mm,
because I started writing it after the year of my mom's passing. My mom passed away on the 9th of July. And then in 21, and then in 22, I started writing it towards the end of the year.
mm,
And then it took me till about 23 years so to fully finish it. And then I kind of let it sit there because I was like, what do I do with it? Where do I go? How do I publish? Should I do self-publishing? All those other things.
mm.
So it was like about a year's time. And looking through my notes, through text messages, through audios. And that actually was an awakening moment for me as well, like a healing, because in the beginning, I was very angry, which a lot of us go through that if somebody passes, about the way my family handled it, or the way they didn't do something, or the fact that I didn't feel that they were there enough, and all these things. And then going through some of the messages and the audios that family sent that showed more support than I thought because I was in such grief that I didn't even process that so much. Realizing that, like, they actually did help more than I thought they did.
Mm.
So it was also part of my healing while I was writing it because I was thrown in my face like, nope, you were wrong. You were just angry. And learning to let go of being so angry with the family or with even friends or even myself, really. So yeah.
So anger was a bit of an emotion that sort of
Oh,
came
yeah.
up in the process. Yes, amongst
Very
the
much
whole
so.
grief cycle. Yeah.
Yes. I didn't have I think they said like denial is one of them. Never really got that, like how that works, but I don't feel like I was in denial in any way, but I felt all the other ones.
The other ones. What's like what's kind of the key thing you want the reader to like get from your book, if anything?
What I want them to get from the book is that transformation is something that can come from grief. And even though like it's okay to actually um have something good come out of something bad.
Mm,
Like it's okay to be happy about where you are because of what happened,
mm,
right? After you've grieved, after you've had that loss and the trauma and have been able to understand and accept where you are. And then if you've had some transformation, because most of us do, will have a transformation. I was able to connect with my passion for my career. I've always loved writing and that's always been a passion of mine. I've always known that, but it also transitioned me into helping others in a coaching capacity as opposed to, there's other ways to help people. So for me, that transformation, that grief transformed my trajectory in life
mm,
and where I wanted to be.
mm,
And after letting go of the guilt later came, funny enough, after letting go of that guilt of can I be successful? Should I be successful when I wasn't able to provide for my mom the way I wanted to? And then that was a guilt, like letting go of like it's okay for me to move on and move forward, even though I didn't give my mother everything that I wanted to.
Mm.
So that transform like so all that so I think for me it's more of a transformation and being okay with where you are in your grief and how you grieve. That's what I want people to take away from the book.
I like what you brought up about transformation, because often, I guess for me, what comes up, and I know I've heard it before, around when you think of grief, it's just pure like loss, and yeah, it is loss, but like we don't think of the transformation side as well. Not saying it's like, oh, great, I get a transformation, don't feel the sadness, but it's like
Yeah.
there's actually sounds like what you're sharing is there's a growth or a an opportunity at the end or some kind of life change potentially for people at the end because of what they've been
Yeah.
through.
And yeah, we always read and have heard about how we start assessing our life. And so once we're ready, because again, it's not about pushing it down your throat and be like, okay, well, let it go and get to the transformation and be happy. No,
Sure.
it's when that person is ready, right? And they start seeing what they want to create and what they want to change. And that change, you're aware of it now, and now you're making that change. You're now choosing something else because of that loss that created an awareness in you of something that maybe you wanted or lacked or decided that was better for you now,
Mm.
whichever situation. So then you have that transformation into, it could be a career, it could be a partnership, or wanting children, or wanting a change of scenery in regards to where you live. But that's still a transformation that is positive for you, right?
I guess grief, like in the context of what we've been kind of talking about, is the loss of someone, but it could be a grief in a different sense, maybe a loss of maybe a situation, a relationship, or a job or
Yeah.
something as well.
I mean, yeah, we grieve for many things, and a lot of people, for instance, have, oh, I've been with this job for 10, 15, 20 years, and for whatever reason had to be let go, fired, the company, went bankrupt, whatever, and that's a grief because remember, we're creatures of habit. So having, and then if you, and especially if you loved your job or you enjoyed it or you were used to it, losing that job, it's like, it's taking part of who you are. This is what I've been for 10, 15 years in my job career situation. So that can, yeah, definitely be a loss and grieving. What do I do next? How, like, I'm lost. And when you grieve for someone or something else, you kind of feel lost sometimes. So it's being able to try to feel it out and transition and grow and, come out at the other end, hopefully, um, a better you or a better version of you or where you want to be.
And for you, just going back to what happened for you, it has sounded like so you've gone into helping other people in a sort of coaching capacity as
Yes, so I became a certified transformational life coach, holistic nutrition
awesome.
coach, and mentor. I was also certified in trauma for
Mm.
coaching. And yeah, I mean, I realized that what I normally did when someone came to me for advice or just wanted to have someone hear them out or anything like that was already geared towards that because I've always loved reading and writing, and I've always loved learning about neurology, how our brain works, habits, things like that. I've always loved that and have incorporated it in my life as much as I can. And that transformational coaching had at least the school I went to was amazing in regards to that because a lot of that was what I already do just naturally, just helping people. So now I had more tools and exercises and things in my belt to be able to facilitate that for people, be able to help people grow in whatever situation they wanted. And I really enjoy it. It makes me happy because we always think that to do selfless things is, when you're doing something selfless, you're also happy. So that brings you joy. It's one of those double-edged
Mm.
swords. Like, really, is there anything ever really selfless when it brings you joy?
Mm.
So, a lot of people, so I enjoy that because I help others, but I'm also obviously growing a business that I enjoy, that I love doing. So,
Mm. I love that perspective on it bringing you joy and doing something you love. If we see it
yeah,
selfless, it's bringing you joy, but is it really selfless? No, it's a good
yeah.
question. You also mentioned you've got the trauma informed. You're trauma informed. For you,
Mhm.
what's the difference between grief and trauma?
Well, obviously you can have both at the same
Mm.
time, but there's different types of trauma. That's the thing.
Mm.
Well, what a lot of people don't know or may notice is that there's something called the big T trauma and little T trauma. The
Yeah.
big T trauma are those that have like a lot of grief with it, right? Where it could be a loss. It unfortunately could be physical violation. It could be war. These are really big traumas that create tons of grief for a lot of people, right? And those shape how you see the world, how you see yourself, all that stuff. And then there's little T traumas. Those are things that could be maybe you're being ignored by your boss at work. Like whatever you suggest for a meeting that you guys are having, a office meeting, you are being ignored for any suggestions. That can be a trauma. It doesn't create grief, but the trauma is that it's shaping your perspective on how you see yourself. I'm
Mm.
being ignored. Um, I'm not worthy. I'm not enough to be acknowledged. And then that starts shaping how you behave towards like how you behave with others and how you present yourself. And so, or the fact that when you were a little kid, maybe you got yelled at a lot and your parents always thought you were always lying.
Mm.
That's not grief, but it's trauma. It's shaping how you feel people are seeing you and how you see yourself. It's like, oh, well, I'm just a liar. I actually, and parents don't always like, I'm gonna make up a percentage, like 90% of parents, that they love their kids. They're not doing it on purpose. They're
Mm.
not trying
Sure.
to, create that trauma. But like my mom growing up, actually, I was the younger of two, and she would always say, I'm lazy. Why are you always so lazy? I grew up thinking I was lazy. And in
Mm.
college and in, early 20s and all that stuff, I had that mentality about myself. And when I became more aware of these things and more, I started reading more about the brain and our habits and how we see ourselves and things like that. I started working on changing that thing about myself that wasn't me. I didn't think I was lazy. My mom did. So that voice wasn't mine. So I had to actually change it. So those are things that create trauma, that create who we are as a person and how we interact with other people. But it's not necessarily us. It's what other people say we are. But we decide who we say we are. So the little T traumas can definitely affect us, and they don't have to be formed by grief, but it does shape who we are, and we need to. That's what within coaching and with the trauma certification that I have is being able to help people realize their even small traumas that shaped who they are, but they don't want to be that anymore. I don't want to
Mm.
be considered a lazy person. I don't want to be considered someone who's a liar because I'm not. But you think it. So we start replacing it. We question the validity of those things first.
Mm.
And then we start putting in what's true so that you can start shaping your reality how you see it for you, not what your parents or aunties and grandparents and anybody else around you, or even coaches, like school coaches and teachers. I mean, you know the story about Albert Einstein and being told to his parents from the teachers that he's like a dumb kid,
Yeah.
you know? Yeah. He did not allow that to shape him.
Mm.
So that's where we go from that.
That's a good example. So a big T trauma, is that always grief or sometimes not?
For the most part,
Mm.
I think it's personal as well.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be one size fits all like we discussed
Sure.
earlier. It's going to be personal, but funny enough, there are a lot of resilient children out there. It's insane because of the way they were brought up, war-torn countries or situations, they become so resilient that they're no longer in grief or loss anymore, but they do have a trauma that will still shape them. So it is personalized. It isn't that if you have a big T trauma, you're going to have grief. It's not always the same. It will be most likely compared to, let's say, a small trauma, but it's not always. It just depends on you.
Not set in stone. Okay, no, that's great. Great to know. And with the transformation, the transformational work you're doing, and some people want transformations, is grief in some degree required for a transformation to happen?
No, not at all. It's for transformation to happen, it's not even the desire. It's more like there's a saying, I can't remember the full saying about it's like when you're, I guess when the hurt of staying in the same place is stronger than the actual repetition of that situation. Like that's completely botched the saying from it's like this pastor, I think, it said it a while ago. When that desire to change is stronger, or when the pain of change is less than the pain of staying the
Mm.
same. That's when you want transformation. So you have to be at a point in your life where you've, let's say, you've examined, become more self-aware of where you are, whether it's you want a change, a transformation in career, marital, finances, relationships, just yourself, sometimes even your lifestyle, your healthy lifestyle, whether it's because, oh, I want to be more healthy, or I want to lose some weight, or I want to be more physically fit, or whatever the reasons are, or I want to gain more weight. There's people who need to gain weight. So when that just becomes too much and the pain of change seems like, okay, what, I'll deal with this better. That's usually when a lot of people will create that transformation. A lot of us will always do it on our own or try to do it on our own, and people will succeed. I'm not going to say everybody needs a coach, right? But sometimes the coaching is necessary for someone who, let's say, has tried, has read the books, has gone ahead and done the work, and it's done its job for a week or two, and you're going back, because that's what happens. Our habits and our brain always tries to protect us, so we're always going back. We need to find different ways that will work for us, and sometimes having that outside person, that outside perspective, helping you find your direction is what can help you to move to that next step. And our brain's always criticizing us. So we're gonna, the coach is there telling you, yeah, but that's not real. That's not, we're gonna question that critic so that
Mm.
it could get out of your way.
Very subtle as well, that those kind of
Yeah.
little habits that make you go backwards as well, and
Mm-hmm.
excuses, right?
Yeah, and sometimes we don't even notice how many thoughts come in that are just criticizing us.
And transformation is a thing a lot of people were looking for in times, and you touched on the need to stay the same. Rather, the pain and staying the same is stronger than the pain of changing. It's
Mhm.
when it starts to happen.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people realize that transformation is, I'm gonna say, the clients I work with know that it's gonna be energy used, it's gonna be work, it's gonna be something that you need to make that effort for. So you need to be ready for that effort, for those things that you want to commit to. Because
Mm.
what you're doing is you're committing to yourself, right? It's easy for us to commit to others, to give to others, to help others, to give others that wonderful advice that we don't take ourselves, right? That's always how it is. But when it comes to ourselves, because we have to look inward, we have to internalize, we have to process and see where we're at. We have to admit to ourselves that where we are is not where we want to be, or, oh my gosh, I've been messing up so much with this and nothing's working. So those things are hard for us to admit, because unfortunately, partly society always digs into us about where we need to be at what age, what we need to be doing, this and that, all these different things. Social media, everybody puts out the successes and all the things. Nobody ever puts all the struggles and how many times they cried in a corner, because that wasn't what they were trying to portray, right? I mean, now they do a little bit of that where they're like, oh, this is my struggle, because they're not trying to make other people see that, my success didn't just come overnight. So it makes it difficult nowadays for people to really want to admit to themselves that they're not where they want to be. So when they are ready, that's when a coach, whether it's a transformational coach, business coach, spiritual coach, holistic nutrition coach, that's where they come in and help with that goal or with that transformation that they want to do, and give them that support that they need.
How can someone find the right coach for them, do you think, in terms of what, if they're wondering,
Well,
want some help, but which is the right one
yeah.
for me? Where do I start?
Right. Well, I know that you don't necessarily need to be a certified coach,
Hmm.
but it helps, because then, there's certain guidelines that you must follow as a coach. It's sort of like, funny enough, obviously we're not therapists. Sometimes it feels like it, but we're not therapists. But we also have guidelines. So we have ethics and things to follow in order to be able to practice, right? Through a certification. But you can actually get, I know a lot of us as coaches will offer a free call or a free session to find out whether that's what you want, what you need. Because I do also do just basic life coaching. There's a difference with life coaching and transformational coaching. Transformational coaching, I'm sort of like, the client and I are both holding the wheel of a bus. In life coaching, the client is mostly holding the wheel. I'm sitting in the back and they're guiding how we're going to do our sessions mostly. For transformation, I'm guiding how the sessions are going to go mostly. So It just depends on what they need. And life coaching is very goal oriented. Here's what I want. Let's create this plan. Help me. With transformation, it's all right. Well, let's find out what's blocking you. What is that limiting belief holding you back? Where's that trauma coming from that's not allowing you to see yourself here and all these different things. So
Mm,
we're going through different sections. Business coaching, they have some things, plans and things that work to help you grow your business. They have here's a scalable sales funnel that works for all my business clients and this and that. So it's about finding
mm,
out what it is that you're looking for. Are you looking to transform? Are you looking for, I have a goal, I don't know how to get to it, or I'm trying to be more spiritual, I can't connect with God, or I can't connect with source or whoever, if there's a spiritual coach. So it's about finding out what it is that you want, expressing it to the person and seeing if they can help you. Or even, there's different ways. There's like coach hubs, there's coach websites, and you can look through those coaches and see what they offer. And sometimes just reading what their bio is, what they offer, clicks. I do need that. That's what I need. I'm realizing that, like for instance, I belong to one to Coaching Hub and Bark.com, and some people come in and they're looking for a coach in relationships. I'm not I don't specifically focus on relationships for coaching. But if a client was working on a goal related to, I want to I want to have the confidence to go out more. I can help them because that's transformation. That's something that's getting them stuck. And then if it turns into relationship in regards to that, I can do that, but that's not what my niche is specifically, right? Because the transformation is what's important for them to feel the confidence or the love for themselves if they lack it, so they can feel comfortable to go out and meet people. But it can turn into a little bit of a relationship situation. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of different coaches and a lot of different niches. So finding it through a website or just scheduling calls with somebody that they saw online or social media or anything and figuring out if they click.
that's some good guidance and some good differentiation. I didn't even say the right word. Distinguishing differences between different coaches. That's really, really powerful. I
I
think.
do suggest to also I would suggest people to be cautious. Just like any other field, there are going to be people out there who claim to be something and they're not, or who say they have this and they don't, and that they can guarantee, like a coach can guarantee you that you're going to get a result. The result the client gets is based on them. So if somebody's trying to guarantee you a certain, like, and that's with you as a client doing the work, because I can't do the work for you. I mean, neither can a therapist, right? A therapist is there to listen non-judgmentally and all these different things, or a counselor and all these different things. So we can't do the work for you. So if somebody's guaranteeing you something that doesn't seem and doesn't say that you have to put in the work in order for me to guarantee that you're going to get a result, right? So the result is based on the client. What you put in is what you get. But if you put in that work, I can guarantee that we're going to have a positive result for you, or a starting point. So just, take your time with choosing a coach. I might not be the right coach for whoever's listening either. So I would suggest you do look for someone that would be right for you, that you click with, or you just get a good rapport with, which is it's good to have.
I like that. Some good guidance for people. Eliza, I know you've got your book new, which is awesome, and some great themes that we've touched on, particularly earlier in the conversation that I think a lot of people will resonate with
Mhm.
healing, with grief, with loss, and then the transformation, of course. So, as we kind of wrap up today, I'd love to know where can the listener find your book? Where's the best place? Where else is a good place for them to find out more about your work and what you've got going on at the moment? And is there anything you'd like to leave us with today? Any final points?
Well, with where you can find my work, my website has my information and my link tree on it. So it would be transformandflow.net. And then also I have a landing page for my book, which comes out tomorrow, April 10th, available on Amazon, Kobo, Bookshop. It's also available, I believe, in Apple Books, things like that. And obviously for paperback and ebook. And the link tree would be Transform and Flow as well. And what I want to leave people with is just what I realized, and I think that a lot of us don't think about, is that I'm stronger than I think I am. And I want people listening to realize that you are stronger than you think you are, and you are more resilient than you think you are. And don't go on anybody's timeline on what it is to heal for you. It is your timeline. how it feels for you and where you are in your process. Don't allow anyone else to tell you where you should be. So that would be what I want to leave people with.
Some powerful words. Thank you, Eliza, for coming on today, and for Eliza's links, the book and her amazing resources. Just click in the show notes below and you can grab them there. So Eliza, a massive thank you once again for coming on today.
Thank you so much, Shawnee. I appreciate it. You have a beautiful day.
Well, that concludes our episode for today. And remember to lead with your heart and not with fear.